Hey. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Impact Podcast. I was just saying to my friends that today has been todaying. If that's a word, however that goes, you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to ask the question because sometimes we don't get asked that. How are you today? So I'll ask my sisters first. How are you ladies today?
I'm here. I'm here. I need the coffee that the mayor said that she was making, but where I'm at, they don't open to they I guess they open it now, so I'm gonna have to get the coffee when we're done.
There we go. Okay, you can still get it, just
Yeah.
not now, but later.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I've been up since 3 a.m. Like full blown up.
Yeah, you need coffee.
Yes.
You need coffee. This is
Yes.
what we're gonna do though. I think what's great about what we're about to do tonight is it will wake us up, right? We're gonna wake up our brains. We're gonna get some questions going and start digging in a little bit. But before we do that, Damaris, how are you?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm breathing. I'm here. I showed up. That
Yeah.
that's how I am. Yep.
And thank you for doing just that. Thank you for showing up. And yeah, I was running in to make sure all of this was together. And I was just like, you know what? We'll make it. And once we get there, we'll do what we do. And that's what I love about the fact that we are right, real people, real conversations, real resources. Because whatever we do, we always come authentically us. And that way, there's not as much pressure because like this is what you're going to get, and so that's that.
You get
Um,
what you get, and you don't get upset.
that's
That's right. That's right.
that.
That part. That part.
I like that.
You
I
get
like
what you get and you don't
You
get
don't get
upset.
upset.
Yes.
I like it. Um, so I'm a this time of year, Damaris and I was just talking about that. Just kind of what this time of year brings. And I've been feeling the same way in regards to oh my gosh, there's so much to do, so much to prepare for with the new school year. Kids are going to school. Mine are feeling a little anxiety. The one is going to middle school, and so much is happening. And one thing that I'm personally thinking about doing for myself as well as my team is I want to go into this year asking better questions or asking more questions. Instead of going in with this master plan of things to do, how about we just ask a bunch of questions and just find out more, and then we move from there. So with that, I love having conversations with you ladies, and I always like to be able to dig deeper because you guys always have some great stuff to share. So I was like, why not do this exercise with one another? Because I feel like something like this we can do with friends, we can do with our children, we can do with staff, we can do, guess what? We can do it with ourselves. And I am learning to ask myself more questions as well. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if I know me yet, right? We talked about that before. Um, so what we're going to do tonight is nothing has been preset, pre-chosen. We have these cards, right? It's so many things that you guys can do, right? You can go on Amazon, you can create your own questions. You could just sit, think, and jot them down. But we have some cards and stuff that'll be as prompts. And we're just going to ask some questions and kind of take a moment, think, and share. And each of us are going to be in the hot seat. And yeah, ready?
Yeah, let's
Born
go.
ready. We're born ready.
So, oh, listen, this is my first one. I'll start. What kind of situations? Oh, see, this is what happens. This is saying, do I avoid? Okay.
I,
What,
you, us, it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna tell you why I pause. Right. What kind of situations do I avoid? In all transparency, uh, that's what I'm working on with my therapist. Is right. So I am not a conflict person. And so what our conversation has been is because I don't right I problem solve, but I don't really do conflict. However, that could be perceived as avoidance. So I want to be more mindful of what I perceive as conflict or how I approach a situation or how I respond, so that one does not read it wrong and feel like I'm avoiding. I will say this, something that I learned was it is okay to say, you know what, I need a moment, I'll get back to you. That's okay. Because sometimes we respond a little too quickly or, or in an emotional space. And so I'm learning my P word to pause, Dr. Obiama. I'm learning to pause. And I think I shared before with you guys, I'm still working on that feelings thing because I'm not the biggest feelings person either. But checking in, how am I feeling and how do I want to respond? And if I want to respond, and so that's what I'm kind of working on. So this question is so timely for me, because I'm working on how I like manage conflict. And so a lot of times when I perceive something as I'm like, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to engage, I will shut down and be like, that's what I'm not going to do. Have a good day. See you. I'm processing that whole thing. So if the answer basically is situations that seem to be conflict, or you call it what you like, messy or whatever the case may be, I don't engage, but I'm working on making sure that it is not perceived as avoidance. So that's mine.
So I'll jump right in here because I had a situation last week where I was assaulted.
Mm.
I was assaulted, and um, I am I am carefrontational and confrontational and all of the things. But with this person, um, this is a person that I know. So this is a person that historically I avoid because they are always in their bag. They're always putting on a gorilla suit. They're always the center of attention. And when the attention is not on them, it's a problem for everybody. And, um, but I was away last week and um, trying to celebrate my mother's birthday and really doing my best to avoid conflict. And it was so intense that I simply just spoke my piece because of the intensity of the situation, and then I was choked. So I felt like, so then I was stuck there. I was stuck there on an island for 5 days, couldn't get a flight, everything was sold out, right? So I had to sit in the vulnerability, as we learned from Brene Brown, right? And um, we kind of didn't have any additional, contact, afterwards. But after it happened, I'm like, I'm done, I'm over, it's whatever. But they wanted to have a conversation. And so the conversation was, number one, forgive me, I'm sorry. But then the other part of the conversation is, I was angry and, help me because I don't know. And so it was an opportunity for me to be authentically honest with things that I have for 28 years not said because I was avoiding conflict, but you violated me. So now you're going to get all of this truth. You assaulted me, so now you're going to get all of this truth. Now, the flip side of that though is I'm not okay. Right? I'm not okay. So the thing that I have to make sure that I don't avoid is showing up. I have to make sure that I still show up every day and be my authentic self and not allow that to cause me to shrink or to undo all the work that I've done with my mother because of her choice to stay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So just being honest, like
Yeah.
this, this is real, right?
Very, because we haven't spoken, and so had no
Right,
idea.
right.
The one question, right? It's a nice all about questions that it made me think about, especially with me sharing this this feeling of avoiding conflict. What are your thoughts now about attempting to avoid conflict all of this time? Does that make you go back and say, I wish I had said something sooner? Or
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what's so beautiful because um over the last, I want to say 5 years specifically, I had been massaging that person. I had been literally massaging them. It's going to be all right, talking them down, really trying to put a band-aid and just like really maintain peace, choose peace, all the kind of thing. And even throughout that day, as they kept erupting like a volcano, I was massaging all day, all day, all day, all day. And so after the incident, when they said to me, talk to me, nobody is big or bad enough to talk to me. And I said, it's not about being big or bad. I've been talking to you. I've been talking to you the whole time, but you wasn't able to hear me. But now you realize that you really messed up. Like you really, really messed up. So now you can hear me. But I've been talking, right? And I was very peaceful these 28 years
yeah,
and talking. And so I said to the person, like, you've known me since I was 16. I've never raised my voice. I've never disrespected you. I've never cursed you out. Like I've never given you a reason to assault me, violate me, or anything. You had no right to put your hands on me.
yeah.
And so I maintained my tone, right? I didn't raise my voice. And the good thing about it, ladies, is that historically I could have been a ninja
Mhm.
because it was within my reach. But I
Mhm.
didn't feel the need to defend. I didn't feel the need to hurt. I didn't feel anything. It was really interesting because I was able to be 100% honest in how you consistently show up, and enough is enough.
Yeah.
And so now you're angry, so you're gonna beat me up now? That's what we doing? You okay. So no, I don't think that saying anything, I don't think that anything could have changed the outcome of that situation because people don't see themselves
Yeah.
and people don't want to see themselves. But here's the other lesson. Here's the other lesson in this is that um, I have so much compassion for both parties because what I was able to see since I was stuck with them the rest of the week, what I was able to see is two broken people, two abused people, and one person specifically not even ever being free. Like, don't know what it's like to be emotionally free, physically free. And so when you have two people who all they know is abuse from their childhood, and now in their adult relationships all they know is abuse, whether it's physical or verbal or whatever the case may be. Hurt people really do hurt people. And then if you never get counseling, if you never have an opportunity to sit on somebody's couch and get therapy. So I was able to really kind of remove myself from being the victim because I was, but see their humanity and to see like they really need help and they are so mature in age. They've never had anybody in their lives, not a mother, not a father, not a confidant, not a mentor, not a coach, not a anything to help them process anything, or to even have an example of what a husband or a father should be.
Mm. Wow.
So I'm going to say that it's hard to come after that. Right? um, I wasn't ready. I definitely wasn't ready. And if I want to say that I try to avoid conversations, it's definitely conversations like this, because I'm not as trained as you are, Obiama, and I'm not as patient as you are. So with that being said, I we're here for you. I'm here for you, sis. If you need me to fly out, you let me know what we need to do. We'll get you whatever. And I do know that you're also traveling with your son. So I'm thinking about the whole entire scenario and the exposure. It just makes me angry, right? Because I know you and I know how you like to, keep things at peace, and, you know, um, how you like to pat people, and kind of like buffer and make sure that everybody's sane. So you don't deserve that. And I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
So um, I just want to start off with that. All right. So if you need anybody, you need anything, you know, I got you, right? We got you. So just reach out.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do want to say that I I was verbally attacked by someone, and it's been keeping me heavy for the past 3 weeks. Um, it was a professional verbal attack through email. Um, I read through it. My first response was, for those of you that don't know me, I'm the fire of this thing. So I quickly, react and say things. And I'm like, I don't care. But I'm learning how to pause too, right? And to not realize or start realizing what deserves a response or my energy. And so I read the email and then I read it twice, and then I was driving and then I said, let me park and read it again, because maybe it's just my, and then I second thought it, and I was like, well, maybe it's my comprehension. Maybe I'm reading it in my head in Spanish and I'm, you know, not understanding the content. I read it and read it and read it. And then I said, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna respond. I'm gonna respond because it took me there. And so I'm gonna respond when I'm ready. And so I decided not to respond with a negative. I decided to respond with a positive collaboration. This is who we are. We're going to support each other, type of thing. And I believe that that response got that person so angry that she showed her true colors, not only to me, but to her colleagues as well. It was very unprofessional, the response. And here's the thing, I just learned about professional jealousy. I never knew that existed, guys. I've never knew that professional jealousy existed, right? Here I am thinking naive, thinking that we're all working towards the same goal, and boom, something out of an email with professional jealousy, and coming out of, and we're talking about somebody with education, right, power, somebody's been in the field for quite some time, a respectable person in the field. um, so again, I kind of like stopped, and I said to myself, pause. And I reminded myself, not every response, not everything deserves a response, or my energy, that's for sure. And then I responded, have a good weekend.
Mhm.
I actually responded, thanks for sharing. Have a good weekend. I mean, I'm telling you, the email was like this long and so negative. And my response was, thanks for sharing. Have a great weekend. Right. Um, and sat on that, right, for a couple of weeks. But I always knew to be careful, right? And I feel like I'm trying to stay away from those negative places, And it's funny that that question came about because I'm doing coaching under the nonprofit. And one of the questions is, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I say, I want to stay away from negative not negative organizations that are not about the mission that I'm serving, that are not respecting my core values or anything about my core values in my organization. And that's where I want to be. So I feel like that question resonates that, right? It goes back to where I want to be, who I want to play in the sandbox with, and not responding to anyone's professional jealousy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, even yesterday, I was thinking to myself, I said, wow, somebody has said to me, if this is something that's happening, that means you making them spooked.
Mm.
So keep doing whatever it is you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, all I could think is like high five, because I know, right, that response for you.
Big. That was like, guys, that was like drinking a cup of glass.
Oh.
Like, I literally was just like, I went to my old Brooklyn, like, oh, what? Like, let me hold up, like, to like, woosah. Nah, that's not how we're going to do that. And I prayed on it. I really did. I said, God, take this negativity that I have in me, like this dark cloud that was just brought on me over an email, over something that was really so uncalled for. Like, it was really uncalled for. And I said, just take all these negative things away from me. And if this is the mission that you put me, this is the path that you put me in, remove all that negative from me and keep me focused.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And clear my mind, clear my heart. Let me keep going. And I woke up today empowered. Biami should have called me. I was up by 4. We could have been working together. Yeah, but I'm, still on my mission, still going. So
yes,
what it is.
It makes me think about. I'm reading the books. What you just said when you said professional jealousy, and in general, it brought this concept up that I thought was so interesting. First of all, the book is called Thinking in Bets. So it talks about, like,
I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yep. Okay. The book is called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. And right, it's so interesting because she's a professional poker player, and she's talking about how so many different things that we do in a day is gambling, even in our thoughts. When we make decisions, a lot of times it's a gamble. We have no idea, which way it's going to go. And she said something that we do is, when things go in our favor, when we win something or when we do well at something, we account it to our skill. Like, I did a great job. But when we mess up, or like get in a car accident, or something doesn't go right, we blame it on someone else. And so sometimes, right, so if we're thinking in a professional setting, the fact that someone else keeps elevating, sometimes we look at it like, well, they're just lucky. They don't really deserve it. And this is a way that sometimes we, kind of justify in our minds when jealousy comes up, how someone didn't deserve it. Instead of just, looking at it like, okay, but I've had my wins, they have their wins, but everything isn't for you. And you saying, right, like, we have our own individual business missions. We have our own personal missions. We have our own personal core values, our business core values, and they're not all the same. So I don't want every grant. I don't want every business partnership. And so, listen, not an ounce of jealousy. Like, when we're talking this stuff, like, right, because what is for you is for you. And, even thinking about, a lot of times we want increase. And right. And so I often ask myself, though, I don't want increase to the point where I become overwhelmed again, or frustrated, or it takes you to a place where you no longer enjoy it. So just being mindful of what we're asking for, and being able to notice when, it may be professional jealousy, and it's like, it's uncalled for, right? Because, like, you always say we can all play in the sandbox, but, staying on the course and staying focused. That's all we can do. But I just wanted to share from that book. That reminded me of that, and I thought that was a really uh, uh, insightful way to think about sometimes how we measure looking at someone else's wins. Right, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, cool.
We didn't even get to the second question. That was like 20 minutes of deep stuff in one question. I don't want to play this game no more.
Listen, but at the same time, right? Like, what I think is so powerful about it too, right? Like, this is our girl, and I'm really thinking like, you didn't call anybody, you didn't call them, like, we didn't.
Right. I was thinking that too. I was like looking at my texts. I know we've been busy, but we haven't been that busy, girl.
No, I'm like, hold on a second.
We haven't been that busy. Even
But
if it was stress too, because I get it. You know, when it's family, you know, there's some fine lines, right? And you have to go through some stuff, right? And I get it. I totally understand it. But even if it's like fly out, just hold your hand at the next room, you know.
So let me tell you, and so Zion was with me, right? Zion was with me, and so when it happened, I immediately reached out to my children, to my grown children, like in the group text, like, this is what's happening. I reached out to my pastors, you know, this is what's happening, and that was kind of it, because I needed to figure out how I was going to get through the rest of the week, right? So that was really my focus. Like, I really didn't even have no more conversations about it. We got back late Friday night, so I had to stay the night, because it was a 3-hour drive from New York to their house, and then a 2-hour drive back to Philly. So I'm up 5 a.m. Saturday morning, you know, so I can get out of there. And it was so many moving pieces. And so then Sunday, you know, I'm at church, and then Monday and Tuesday I'm in Denver. I'm in Denver, right, until Sunday. And so I haven't had an opportunity to really like process it. And I didn't know if I was going to talk about it. Like, I didn't know if I was going to talk about it. And so Saturday, I was like, I'm not okay. Sunday, I was like, I'm okay. But yesterday, I wasn't okay. Right. So the thing about it is, and you know, I talk about this all the time. Trauma is real, right? Trauma is real, and it just makes me even the more committed to the work that I do, because people don't have a safe space. And so what happens is they're dealing with stuff, and they come into work. They're coming to work with our children. They're coming to work, you know, with our clients, and they're hurting. And they're hurting because they don't have a safe space. They don't have nobody to say, I was assaulted.
Yeah.
I was violated. I was whatever. And so what was happening with me on yesterday is that every little thing um, was a trigger for me, but I'm not always aware of what the triggers are. And it was something as simple as somebody sending me something like a Facebook reel or Instagram reel about nothing, like nothing having to do with nothing. And it probably was made up. It probably wasn't even real. It was a girl just being ungrateful. Her boyfriend or fiance bought her a house, and she was like, I'm not living here. Like, if a real man wouldn't have done this, like that triggered me. So that triggered me so, like, you're so ungrateful. Like, it was just, so I'm saying that to say that you don't know what triggers people, you know, because of years and years and years and years and years of dealing with things. One thing that has nothing to do with nothing, because that story has nothing to do with my experience, but it still triggered me, right? It still triggered me. So just like all those little different things. And so it's like, okay, even the more I'm like, I have to help us. Like I feel so strong that I have to help us because we're hurting. And we're hurting in all of these pockets and all of these spaces because we don't have a person or a place or a community, to just say, I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
And it's okay to
Yeah.
say you're not okay,
Yes.
you know?
And it's okay to say that I'm not okay. But we as leaders have to really do a better job at providing spaces where people can say, I'm not okay, and not feel judged and not feel like they're going to be treated differently because they're not okay. Because the other thing that we do is when we don't know what to do, we start acting all weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We start acting all weird. And it's like, I don't need you to be weird. Like something did happen to me and I'm getting through it. Like I need you to still be you. I need you to still be consistent. I need you to still be my sister. I need you to still be my friend and not be weird.
Yeah.
Right? But you're weird because you're upset and you don't know how to support me. So you're being weird, right? So it's all these different dynamics. And so now in the workplace, it's like, what do I say? What do I not say? Do I say? Do It's like all these things when it can be simply, as you said, Aaliyah, like, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling? And then allowing a person to say, I'm not okay. And then Damaris saying, well, if you need anything, I'm here. Because those two things are really enough.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what we got to do a better job at doing.
Yes. And I think that's was so related to, again, why I wanted to do this, to just share it as a tool for us as individuals, for us, again, with our staff, with our spouses, with our children, because we don't a lot of times get these moments and we're reacting. And so today we had our leadership day. So we're going to be having staff orientation soon. But before then, I like to meet with my admin team. And right, that's in preparation for the year. And like I was sharing at the beginning, I want to approach this year differently because I know that I am a different person than I was individually than last year. So I can imagine how our teachers are, who are also individuals, they're humans, they're parents, they're right. And so, right, who wants to come back? Yeah, it is business. We're talking about business as usual, but I just wanted to be extremely clear that I see you. I want you to see me so that we can see one another and then get at this work together. Yeah. And so I figured that the more questions that we ask eliminates or at least reduces assumptions, emotional reactions. Right, asking a question. And again, like asking the question of ourselves. Like I'm learning that my husband and I celebrated 12 years. So Monday was our anniversary. And
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And Isis, I have wanted this chef. I have wanted her forever. And she gifted us with the chef coming to our house, cooking for us. And this was we sat there at the dinner table and just like, it started with questions and just kind of like, okay, so he started first, like, 15 years, let's go back 15 years. What would you have said to yourself or done differently? And so now we got to like take a step back and like talk to one another because we've been together 20 plus years and we are two totally different people. And so it behooves us to ask one another questions so that we can continue to uncover who we are as individuals so that we can grow together. And all of this goes back to questions. So again, I'm learning. Y'all know I love books. So this is a new one, A More Beautiful Question. So I want to learn how to ask better questions so that it's not even about getting better answers, but just I feel like there's so much growth in asking the question. And so it allows me to grow in being your employer, your wife, your mother, and it allows you to grow through the question, and then together we grow. And so that's just the new direction. And so, yeah,
So so what's really beautiful about that, and I all day I've been in intense conversations. So it started out with um it, it started out with something as simple as um so yesterday I was helping someone uh put lotion on their back, for example, right? But I was in the middle of grading papers. So I put the lotion on their back, and but I kind of just like did it because I needed to do it and then get back to grading papers, right? So then today I needed help. So then they did to me what I did to them. Now, here's the learning and the question. I was so in my emotions yesterday, I didn't realize how I was not present. So when they put the lotion on me, literally they was like like smacking it on me, right? And I was like, did I do that to you yesterday? And they was like, no, yeah, you really did. And I was like, I because I couldn't see myself. And yesterday they were joking about it, like, that's all I get. That like, where's the rest of the lotion? That's all I get. That's all I get. And I'm like, yeah, that's all you get. You so ungrateful. And that right. And so we laughed it off. But today, when they got to reciprocate it, I had a moment where I was like, did I really do that to you yesterday? I was like, did I really do that? So then I said to the person, okay, apply the lotion on me the way that you felt that I should have applied it on you so that I can know what it feel like. Right. And so what was so good about that is because I could have gotten offended. I could have stayed in that stuck place. I could have stayed, you know what I'm saying? I could have stayed very riled up and not listening to the fact that I wasn't present as something as simple as you at a beach, you're somewhere and you like, can you just I can't get this spot. Can you just put the lotion on the spot? You know what I mean? Like and a person just slapping it on you and you like, I just the callousness of it all, right? The lack of care, the lack of concern. So when it happened, I just was like, oh my God, what was I really like that? And so when I asked them to, reapply it, it then opened up to this wonderful dialogue around how our interactions are in general and how I am not as caring as I could be consistently. And it's because of and then they also shared, so I let them share for about a good 20 minutes and I just listened. And I could have been on the defense and I could have felt like I needed to defend. So I let them talk because active listening is something that I really, really focus on being better at every day in every conversation. So I listened to them for 20 minutes. And then when they were completely done, I said, would you like me to respond? And they said, no, I don't need you to respond because I don't need you to feel like you need to defend. This is just my observation. Cool. So then they talked some more and then they said, okay, now you can respond. But because I was so actively listening, I didn't feel like I needed to defend. I was so 100% present. I was like, everything you're saying is 100% accurate. You are absolutely right. And I was able to really see what they were saying because they had established that this is an observation. I'm not attacking you. How many times do we miss nuggets or, opportunities for growth and real dialogue when we're not active listening, when we are defensive, or when we feel like, no, they didn't. They coming for me. They attacking me. And they're like, no, I'm really just sharing an observation. So
Yeah, that reminds me of it was brought up before, just that, and I swear it has been so impactful in my work in general, but just that Johari window concept and just those blind spots, right? And so that's what it made me think of when you were telling this story. Is sometimes we don't get to see our blind spots until someone gets to share, but it can be really uncomfortable and it can make you, defensive. However, it's so and that takes a lot to be able to hear it.
To sit there quietly.
To sit
I've been practicing active listening, and it just, as you were talking of him, I'm thinking about my husband, because these are conversations I have all the time with him, because I'm so quick and I'm not that passionate, very loving wife. I'm really not. I'm like, your food is over there. You have hands. You know what it is, right? Um, and it's always like, I've always, I feel like that's like something that was instilled in me, because when I was a young girl and I lived with my mom at that time, I remember living house to house because her boyfriends, whoever she lived with, would throw her out of the house, and she was homeless for her kids. And we used to like, I remember one time we stood in the steps, for you people that are not from New York. And it was literally a snowstorm, and her boyfriend decided that she wanted to throw her out with all the kids and everything. And I'm the only girl in my house, by the way, so I'm surrounded by boys all the time. And I always swore, and I swear, I feel like I was like 6, honestly, like 6 or 7. And I remember saying to myself then, I will never go through what you did, what what you're going through. I will never. And I feel like that, because of the traumas that I've been through with in my childhood, I bring that in even into my marriage, that there are some triggers, right? Like, for instance, this morning I was doing my hair. I was going to go speak at an event, and my husband says, "Oh, where are you going?" And I'm like, "I have to go speak." He said, "Another one? And yet another event?" Because I had a lot of events this week. And it automatically went into, yeah, another one. So what's your problem? Like, instead of saying, hey, did you need some time? You know what I mean? Like, did you need me for something this week that I maybe missed somewhere? And I didn't take it like that, right? And that's something I'm working on, because I always jump into the defensive mode, like, don't tell me what to, like, watch your step, like, you know what I mean, like. And it's because of what I went through when I was growing up, and seeing my mom being abused, seeing my mom, going through, you know men hitting her or throwing her out of the house, and her struggling, with the kids and everything, and us living in the street, and there was like so much of that trauma that came into my own, relationship with my husband. And certain times I catch it. We've been married for 20, like, we've been married for 20 years. We've been together for 23 years. It's like, you know, we know how to talk to each other, but he also knows that I am a working piece of progress, right? So he knows, like, there are times, and we've been together for so long, that he'll come to me and hug me, and I'll jump. I still to this day do that, right? I still to this day do that. And then I realize where I'm at, right? But I feel like those are the traumas, right, that I've never really worked on, and working on now at the age of 50, right? And being in a relationship with him, I have to catch myself. So this morning, when I was like, why are you asking me that? Like, stop asking me, like, you're not my father, stupid things like that. And thinking now, wow, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right? Because it's not all about control. Sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable. And I have to remind myself that sometimes, right? And especially, who better to be vulnerable with than you better have, right? So that is something I am working on, but definitely it's a work in progress for me. It definitely is, because there are some questions that trigger me. Oh boy, like, where are you going? That is a trigger for me. So he has learned to say it differently. He has, and I love him for it.
Yes.
I love him for it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why the active listening is really important, because when you can be 100% present to what someone else is saying and not be thinking about what you're going to say in response, or even just not feeling on the inside like you're being attacked, like how dare they? Because what happens is, number one, a person has to be close enough to you, right? They have to be close enough to you for you to even allow them to say whatever it is that they're going to say. So there's a level of vulnerability that is present, and then you're trusting, right, this person enough to even allow them to speak to you in any capacity. So that is also present. So since you are vulnerable and you are trusting of this person, why aren't you actively listening? Don't they deserve for you to be 100% present, right? And so then the humanity in that is, what do I need? And am I given what I need? Is this one-sided? And so I've been really focusing on, in my communication, making sure that it's not a one-sided conversation, and that I am giving 100% to every conversation, because I need 100% from whoever the other person is on the other side of that conversation. I need your undivided. I need to be a priority. So how dare I not be the example of what I need? How do I dare not show you how to treat me, but expect you to treat me when I haven't showed you, when I haven't set the example?
Yeah. That again, it makes me think. So a lot of times when I haven't done this with my full staff, but I've done it with my leadership team, um, in a way to grow together, which is also related to the Johari window concept, which is okay. So based on what you're sharing with me about the blind spot, right? So we share with one another, here's something you didn't know about me, right? So that's something you didn't know, but I knew. But once you share some blind spot information, then the question is from each admin or whoever you do this exercise with is, what would you like me to start or stop doing? So then that kind of also helps with the relationship in regards to, I would like for you to start doing this or stop doing that. And so, that allows you to kind of, okay, so where do we go from here? And I think what also happens, which is beneficial in all these type of relationships, is for these conversations to not happen in a heated moment, but when we are in the space of looking for answers or looking, to grow with one another and looking to learn. So it's less defensive when it's like, oh, okay, we're having this conversation. All right. So what could I start or stop doing? And it's like, okay, I understand that. One that resonates with me is, which is a family member said, their request of me was to start checking in with them personally and business. And so I paused and really listened to it. I wasn't offended at all. I actually appreciated the share, because one, I didn't know you needed that from me, because I'm similar to Maris. Like, listen, I work with my mom. I am when business is business. I'm like, I don't even see, we family, but I don't even see it. So it happens so much for me, though, that I do have to put an effort to be family. So for you to say, check in with me, Like, I was like, okay. And so I appreciated that share because I would never have seen that. I never would have known that they perceive me as not ever checking in. And then, because for a second it could be like checking, how many people I gotta check in with, but that's not too much of you to ask. I'll be like,
I gotta check in with you two, grown person. Now.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that was very fair. It was
Yeah.
very fair. And
I
so
always come back and say, here's something I always do a lot, and I'm actually working on this. Is like I always go back. There's something about active listening, so that if you do the exercise correctly, you're working on the active listening, and you're not responding back, right? So, for instance, if my husband's is saying, something to me about work or anything like that, I shouldn't respond back with, well, my job today was really difficult, right? Because I'm demeaning. I'm not really putting emphasis or importance on what he is saying. So that's part of that active listening, where when we're listening, if you have nothing to say to that person about what they're going through, not advice unless they are actually asking for advice, right? You don't put in there like, girl, if I was you, I would have, no, we're not doing that, right? Active listening is not really providing any advice or input unless they're asking you for it, right? And I have to learn that with my spouse. I can do that with everybody else. But with my spouse, my husband, my partner, anytime he's like, had a really hard day, blah, 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 I'm like, I've been up since 5. Like, suck it up. And, and these are things, and it is, and I'm telling you right now, because I could be my own psychiatrist, because he's a man. It's because he's a man, and I understand that, right? So I understand my traumas, right? I understand, what I go through. But anytime I'm trying to do active listening with him, it doesn't go very well. It's a trigger. It's like, I'm like, stop complaining. Like, you are the most complaining. Like, I bear children 4 times without medication, and you're here crying because you have a little sniffle. But, it it really makes me, think like, I need to, not that I need to be, I want to be a better wife, right? We've been together for 20 something years. And again, we're going to be together forever, we're in it to win it, we're going to die together. So I'm hoping that it's a working process for me, progress for me, but also for him, because here's the kicker. He is the same way I am.
Oh, wow.
So we clash. In that avenue, we clash all the time. Yeah. So one of us has to give up, right? Has to be willing to, I guess, give in, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, to give in. And we're both very competitive people. So it's not, but that's what keeps our relationship alive, like that. You know what I mean? It's weird. We're just weird people.
Well, but you know what? It's not that you're weird. Like, everybody has their thing. But what I hear you saying, this is what I hear you saying, and this is the other part of active listening. And this was what I did today when they said, now you can respond. The first thing I said was, well, this is what I heard you say. Right? That's very important, because what I heard and what they were saying could have been totally two completely different things, right? And so, because I started out by saying, well, this is what I heard, they then provided even more clarification based on what I had heard, which allowed for a deeper dialogue that allowed me to see this wasn't even really about me. They have their own set of insecurity and issues, and they were deflecting, right? They were deflecting, but if I would have gotten on the defense and interrupted them, I wouldn't have been able to hear the root of the issue. And it happened to be just such a beautiful conversation where at the end of it, they begin to now take responsibility for their actions and their behavior. And when I tell you guys, I was so happy that I was able to be 100% present and not say anything the whole time, because I would have missed, like, they were able to get what they need because I wasn't saying nothing. And I was 100% eyeball to eyeball, just being present, because I really wanted to hear what I needed to do to be better or to do things differently. Right. And so for you, Damaris, regardless of however long y'all been married, the fact that you're saying, I want to be better, that active listening is the starting place. And it could be just as simple as, before you respond, okay, Frank, this is what I heard. Is this what you're saying, or is this what you mean? And then just allow him to talk, and you have this back and forth where you're talking, he's listening, he's talking, you're listening, so that both of you are able to hear each other. And what happens is the sting is now being taken away, and you both are being unarmed, and you don't feel like either person is attacking you or feeling like, oh, I got a one up on you. Oh, I
Right,
did.
right.
You did that. Like, it's none of that. And so now what happens is you now have compassion.
Yeah.
You now have empathy, and that's where the humanity lies.
I'm gonna try that. But I do have a question for you, Abiyama. Did you at least get that massage? Like a better massage? You did, you did.
No, so I didn't, and I wasn't, you know what? I didn't, but I did in the conversation. Like, I left so full from the conversation. I mean, it was about a good hour, y'all, and I was just like, this was what we needed. Like, this was good.
Yeah.
This was really good. This was really good. And so it allowed me to have such a better day. So yeah.
That makes me before we wrap up, that definitely makes me think about the conversation we had, Obiama. This did not resonate with me. So what's work, right? I'm like, okay, do my check-ins with my admin team, and here's how I'm going to check in with my staff and do all the check-ins, right? Ask me if I check in with my husband, right? And so Obiama was like, okay, because a lot of times these type of conversations come up when something goes wrong, or it's like, so right, and it gets into instead of it being proactive, because that's the whole purpose. I do a lot of that stuff at the job so that we can prevent someone saying,
yeah.
I didn't know what to do, I didn't do it, or to prevent burnout, overwhelm. What questions do you have? What do you need to know? What's challenging? All those things. And so it was like, okay, what about doing the same things with your husband? I was like,
right.
That
guy. That guy. Oh my gosh. Do that? Like, yeah.
Yes. Because I was saying, the way I operate, everything is fine. Like, I assume that everything is fine, great, is going good, unless you tell me otherwise. And right, so Obiama was like, well, right, because that's assumption. And so then when I hear that something's wrong, whatever, now I really feel some type of way, because you made it seem like everything was fine, right? And that could be anyone, staff, spouse, because truth of the matter, right now that I have older children, hearing about stuff that happened like 10 years ago, well, why you ain't saying nothing? So now something was wrong. But it was, I never asked either, right? So when I think what we're talking about is with this power in questions, is that we have so much more power in us to find out information, to have better relationships, to have better staff, partners, business relationships, friendships, all of that, relationships with ourselves, right? Because we beat ourselves up too. But how much more insight we gain when we ask questions. But now, honestly, I'm walking away from this conversation with another part, which is be ready to hear the answer, but then active listening as well, because we can't think that we've done all the work by answering the question. We have to be able to listen actively. So this was great.
It was great. And we only got one question out.
Yeah,
Wow.
the one question
Imagine,
I submitted.
listen, if we would have pulled out 2 or 3 questions, we would have been here all night. 'Cause
Yeah.
we
Yes.
got so much to share.
Yes. And I think that the great thing about it though is, right, we can always do this again, but we also can, for anyone who journals, right? Journal prompts, opportunities to put it in your morning routine. Again, maybe just ask, we're definitely going to do something like this in our staff orientation.
I was going to
Because
say like an icebreaker.
absolutely, because we don't know. The more with my leadership team today, it was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, we've been working together for years, but we find out so much more information. And then it's like, me too, right? So when you have those moments, oh my goodness.
What? You played double dutch? Yeah, get out. I used to
Now we're like competitive, because trust and believe, I'm getting the double dutch and we're playing next time. Right?
I'll turn.
Exactly. Yes. So, listen. So yeah. So I hope for all of you, this has been as powerful for you as it has been for us. Right? Ask yourselves more questions. Ask your friends questions. Ladies' night. Date night with yourself. I love going to eat out by myself, but during bath time or whatever that thing is, ask yourself more questions. You deserve it. Get yourself some prompts. Create your own. And just enjoy the answers.
And let's not forget, it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay not to be okay.
It's okay to not be okay. And with that, this is the Impact Podcast. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing with us, Dr. Obiama Martin. Thank you. Thank you for all your insight as well, Damaris. And so until next time, we'll see you soon.